Hey everybody, we are covering 5 Diablo 4 tips. This is one of my favorite series. We are doing my absolute favorite OP endgame tips. This is volume 3. We are going to be looking at how to get crazy fast easy. What's the best way to get more out of bossing? And what is my favorite strategy for leveling glyphs early and late endgame? Now let's jump into something that has been in the game for a while, but I don't think a lot of people know it. And that is how the incense stacks work. So if I come over here and I talk to the alchemist and I go to my incense, as you go through these, you can actually right below in the italicized font, this is a type 2. Well, if I float down, this is a type 1. So what does that mean? And there's even one more here, a type 3. What that means is that you can run one from each of these types. So you can have up to 3 incense just on your character alone. This may not be good for early game, but it is great for end game when you have tons of resources and it's easy to stack up a bunch of these and be running 3 different incenses that make a difference to your build. So just know that you can do this. If you are running in a group, only one from each type will affect you. So if you have a group of people you have been running with for a while, having one do type 1, one doing type 2, and one doing type 3 will make sure you guys always have each of these covered. So there is a quick note here. You do not get the stack of experience. You get the 5% and that is it from one of them. But still having the extra bonus for either additional intelligence or some more resistance, whatever it is that you may need for your build, this can give you a good way to round out what you're already doing to make you even a bit more powerful. So now a tip that helps a lot, because I see it so much. People are very confused. They think that they're making their build more powerful because they keep pushing the attack power number. But this number is very deceptive, especially in endgame where the mechanics behind the scenes almost matter more than the base power. There is skills and abilities and all kinds of things you can choose that are affected by the base of the damage that's on your weapons and stuff. And that's what this number is based on mostly. So you can even read here, it's like an evaluation of damage you deal, which is not quite accurate, but based on your offensive stats scaled with your current wield weapons damage and speed. So those are the factors that it's taking into account, but it's not taking into account additional things like critical strike chance and damage and vulnerable. It doesn't do a good job of scaling with those numbers, even if they're making a massive improvement to the damage you're actually outputting to monsters. And so to show you how weird this is, like this is a triple greater affix rod, a unique rod that is designed for my build. It has a massive improvement on my damage, like playing with this or without it is just night and day. And I come down here and this is one of the greater affixes I got. This one has increased just a single greater affix to dexterity and then damage. So I know this, I've tested these before, but if I throw this in here, I have a massive jump in my attack power. So quickly, we'll just look. It goes from 11 to 35, and I put this in and it's 15,518. So that should be like a 40 to 50% increase in my damage, but no, this will be a massive drop in my damage. So as you get into later game, the complexity of what's going on behind the scenes matters more. And the 2 cleanest ways to actually know what's going on is first the feel. If you make a change and you kill faster, you feel like the mobs are going down easier. I know that's not super scientific, but that's generally the feel of the game. If you've been killing a bunch of mobs and you put something on and now you're killing them faster, you win. That's how you know your build's getting powerful. And that's probably the easiest way, because that you do get a good feel. Hey, am I clearing mobs quicker? Am I less likely to die? Whatever you're trying to improve in your build, the actual gameplay is going to show you that. Now, if you do want to get more dialed in and start figuring out how to like min max and get these like really refined amounts of damage increases, there's 2 ways to do it. You can come in here in options. I think by default this is on. Some people turn it off, but if I go to gameplay and down here, I can actually turn on combat text. Now, what I like to do in this in particular to make sure that I'm getting a clear picture, I try to focus on what I'm focused on. If I know I'm doing more of a critical damage build, I'll drop that out and I'll just try to see critical damage. I might not be wanting to see buffs, so I'll just take those off. So if I set up like this and I save changes, then when I go out, what I'll see above my head is just going to be the damage I do when I'm critical striking. So this allows me to actually see the individual damages and if I'm improving those, if that's what I'm trying. If you want to do this the safest, then you're going to want to go to Kiavoshad down here and right here above. So you portal in right above is going to be the training grounds. There is a series of dummies set up so you can just test straight out. Is this doing more damage? And you can test it on, you can set the dummy pack to like bosses, or to elites, or to just regular mobs. And that way you can attack them, switch out whatever you're switching, change the skill points, add the equipment, and then in real time without being attacked by monsters, see how much damage that you're doing and if this is really making an increase that you expect. So stop paying attention as much in Endgame to the attack power and start paying attention to either the feel of the game or actually go test your numbers. Now, one of the things that keeps coming up is the ability to move fast in your farming in Endgame makes a huge dent in the amount of time it takes to get to more powerful levels. And so things you can do to really speed up how fast you can move make a big difference. Now, sometimes you end up using boots. I don't have it in this case, where you are actually using a unique. And the unique has a certain amount of movement speed that's already locked in. But what you're missing out on is that temper roll to get more speed as well. So if you look at these are my regulars. If I was using a unique, I would actually have this pair as a backup to switch in as I need it. Because then I could go from maybe where I'm getting like 36% to here where I'm getting like 65% increase to movement speed. So having a pair of boots that is designed for speed running is a great thing to have. Especially if you're running multiple classes, you only really need one pair necessarily for this. You may re-roll the whatever you're running for the aspect, but it still allows you to have a quick boost of speed without changing your build much. Now, with this expansion, there is another way to get speed super, super easy in your speed farming. So generally, either you're moving faster or you're able to clear faster. One of those two things are generally going to help. Mercenaries make a huge difference. Right now, I am using Variana, and Variana is probably one of those clear choices for just speed straight up. And that's because her main ability is Massacre. Massacre, as you get stacks of kills without letting 7 seconds lapse between the next kill, that stack just keeps increasing. If you get up to 100 stacks, which is crazy easy to do in endgame farming, you'll be moving at 20% increased movement speed. That is absolutely incredible. Now, she's not the only one that can help. Subo is another great add. He doesn't directly affect your speed, but he definitely allows you to go towards the pack that has the most monsters. So if I'm running in Hell Tides and I see over here, I've got like, with his ability, I can see 16 monsters over here and like 3 over there. If I always run to the bigger pack, I can clear cinders a lot faster, open more chests, and get a lot more out of my time I spend in speed farming. Now, either one of these is going to make a huge difference. Just choose whichever one feels best for you and your build. Now, of all the tips, this is probably one of my favorite. It is something I've run a lot when I play new classes, when I'm playing my alts. There is probably the biggest power you can get when you get into Torment levels, when you finally get to Torment 1, is going to be from your Paragon board and specifically getting those glyphs leveled. So as you come in here, I'm going to actually talk about kind of what we do early game versus what we do end game. So when we first come in here, we're obviously not going to have this filled out. We're only going to have points to get to maybe this node and very quickly then maybe a second node on a second board. So when we're trying to level up, we're trying to get power faster so we can do higher levels of the pits so we can level our glyphs faster. And that cycle allows us to not only be leveling our glyphs, but getting more powerful as we do it so that it's easier to push. And so the first thing to do is when we come in, we want to get at least a glyph. Before we start really pushing, we want to at least get one glyph. You can do that by running a bunch of pits, but if you have glyphs that are dropping in the pit that you don't want, then you're just wasting those runs and you're really leveling up glyphs that aren't going to matter to you. I recommend going and doing nightmare dungeons until you at least get a couple glyphs that are what you want to level. Now, as soon as you do get 1 or 2 of them, you then start leveling in with the pit. So now I can come over here and I can just take this one, install it. And as I finish the pit, I can level up this to level 15. That gives a big increase in power for this glyph. And it allows me to have the chance of getting the other glyphs that I'm looking for while I'm running the pit. So there is a chance that once I've done the first runs in Nightmare Dungeons, got a couple glyphs that I need, I may never have to return there to get the rest of the glyphs. I do think that the glyphs in Nightmare Dungeon drop a lot easier than they do in the pit, but if you're running the pit repeatedly to level, then it doesn't make sense to jump back if you don't have to. So this strategy, you level up the first one to 15, make sure it's installed and you're getting that power. Then you should be getting enough Paragon points to at least map to your second node. And then here you put that one in and you start to level that one to 15. By the time you've done this, you'll usually find that you have 2 or 3 of the other glyphs, and that's all you're going to need. And you can keep running the pit and just getting a massive increase to your power. Now, I don't necessarily keep going. Like, let's say I run out of Paragon points to map to another node. I might just take a break and go do some other activity. This is where I might switch back to Nightmare Dungeons or going to Infernal Hordes, because then I just want to get the material that I eventually am going to use for masterworking. Then when I get enough points to get close, then I might come back to the pit and then level this next one. And so that gives me a strategy to kind of be messing around with lots of things going on, getting a lot of things in place that could help me jump to next levels of power while making the things that I'm doing in the pit more valuable as I do them. So now at this point, it is pretty obvious that we would do one at a time, because that's kind of what we're collecting them and then leveling them up. But it is a very good thing to level one at a time to 15 first. So the first one to 15, the second one to 15, and so on as they open up. Instead of leveling them evenly, if I had 3, I wouldn't level like one level in each and let it kind of go in rotation. I would level all into the first one until it hit 15 and then move to the second one. I'm going to continue that pattern once I get them all to 15, which for most builds, if your build is pretty solid, should get you into Torment 2, if not Torment 3, just by having these at 15. It's a lot of power. Now we can start moving that up to level 45. Again, one at a time, or actually 46, because that's when it opens up the extra radius. So when we get to 46, we get that extra boost in all the points that took us there. So we can focus on one glyph, get that to the next radius, get a big jump in power, and then move on to the next one. What that does is, though, it keeps moving us up that pit. That's the value. If you're doing higher level pits than the level of the glyphs that you're leveling, then you start to get bonus levels for each of those points you can put into them. Now, the last phase is we have them all to 46. We have them all installed. We can now start to push them to 100. This is where I start to rotate. I kind of pick a goal and I'll do like 10 levels at a time. So first I'll get them all to 70, then 80 and 90 and so on. And that allows me, because now there is no big boost for one hitting a decent level. If there is one of the glyphs that has more impact and gives you more damage or better clear or whatever it is than all the others, you can focus on that. You can choose your favorite and go that way. But I like the just kind of leveling them up then in groups at levels of 10. There is so much that I want to include. I actually have some bonus ones beyond the 5, so make sure you stay through those. We're going to go into more stuff to help you be better at the Citadel, get crazy clears there, and get even more out of bossing. Now, with the expansion, there is another huge change that has affected how we do bossing and definitely how I think about it. So the strategy that I have come to that gets us the most for the materials that we have is to kind of time it right. What is different is that when we come in and we have our materials and we're going to start doing bossing, the cost for a boss to summon, no matter if we're in Torment 1 or in Torment 4, is the same. But the reward is massively different at T4. There is higher chances for mythics, there's higher chances for ancestrals, there's higher chances for just better rolls of the uniques that we want if we just hold on to them. Now, holding on to it forever may actually cost you getting essential uniques that you need for your build, and that can suck. So what I've done to kind of split the difference is in the Torment 2, when I can finally get there, then I'll start going and hunting my uniques. And what I'll do is only go after the bosses that basically are the sub bosses to Duril and Andariel. So I'll go do Grigor and Varshan and Zir. And so if I do that, then I can have those materials in T2, not in T1. So I have a better chance at the unique that I need. And I can start at least getting non-ancestral pieces in those places before I keep moving up. That should get me a decent amount of power, help me get to T3. And in T3 is where I start to really consider then running bossing like crazy, because that's where I can get my mythics. That's where I can get my ancestrals. So that's really what I want. That's going to be the best benefit for bossing as you go. So now we are into the bonus round. The other thing that came with this season that has helped bossing significantly is our ability to actually find a group. So when we find a party, we come over here to the end, we can see whatever bosses are running. This makes it very easy, even for us solo players, to come in here and find groups so that we are maximizing our resources. So instead of just the cost of one run getting us 1, it gets us 4. Now, it doesn't get you the mats for Duril and Andariel when you run some of these early ones like Lord Zir, but it does get you more chances at the gear that you need. So it is a huge benefit. It's like quadrupling the amount of mats you have all at once. Now, this is another one. The Citadel has been added to this expansion as well, and it requires at least 2 people to run through, but it does go a lot smoother if you have at least 4. And so using the group finder, getting the Citadel. Now, a lot of people get in there and they're at like Torment 4 and they just jump in the Citadel, and they've clearly never been in here before. And they really just pull down the whole team. They're dying all the time. They don't know where to go. My recommendation to get a good understanding of how to run the Citadel, run at lower Torment levels. So even if you're at Torment 4 and you're just starting Citadels, run them at Torment 1 or 2 to get the mechanic. That'll allow you not only to run it smoother and know where you need to be, but also help other people get us like be able to tell other people where to go to get the best benefit for the entire group. Now, some of the cool cosmetics are behind this require you to run these, at least all 3 of them every week. And so this can help you do that very, very quickly. Once you know how to do it, it's very easy to at least understand, at least know where to be and what's going wrong when it starts to go wrong. But if everybody's in there, they don't quite know what's going on, they're not really communicating, no one knows how to play it, it can be really annoying. And you can be like halfway through and someone will just quit because they're frustrated. Now, it should be clear at this point that one of the best things you can do for power is going to be leveling up those glyphs. I actually made a video to help you get the most out of your pits by not making these mistakes.